Hey guys, what's up? Brian Lovelace coming at you with another video tutorial about MIDI2LR. Today we're going to be exploring how to map out your own controller. So bring in your Korgs, your Behringers, whatever you got. You can use any MIDI controller for this project and we're going to help you map it all out. I know it's been a really long time since I've gotten my last tutorial video out to you guys and I want to apologize profusely for that. I've just had a lot of life changes going on. I've quit my job at Home Depot as a supervisor back in January, got a new job at a digital marketing agency in Santa Monica, and then got engaged to my fiance in March, moved in with her in July, and then finally this past month I decided to quit my job at the digital marketing agency to focus on doing videos like this for you guys, along with focusing on my career in film production and my photography business on the side. So without further ado, let's jump right on into this tutorial so you can map out your controller to work best for the way you work. Let's get right on into it. All right guys, so the first thing you're gonna wanna do is obviously go to Google, type in MIDI2LR, and the first thing that pops up is gonna be the GitHub page. What you're gonna do, click into that, and then click download. It's going to take you to the latest release. As of October, it's going to be version 2.3.0.1. What you're going to want to do is if you're on a Mac, make sure you get this guy right there, the .dmg file. And if you're on Windows, make sure you get the .exe file right here. So I'm on Windows, I'm going to click this right now. And it's going to open. And then next, accept the agreement. Next, next. Next, and then you can close all these guys right there. Finish, and you are ready to go. So close that, and then what I want you to do is I want you to open up your File Explorer, go to your Documents. First thing you're going to do is you're going to go New, Folder, and you're going to type in MIDI2LR Profiles. That's going to give you a place to store your profiles once you start MIDI2LR. Alright, so the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your controller is plugged in. If you have a controller that requires a power source, make sure that's plugged in as well, and make sure you're plugged into USB. Once you're done doing that, make sure you go to Lightroom and open up. As you can see, MIDI2LR is opening up right here. You don't have any MIDI commands or any Lightroom commands inputted yet. What you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to go into Settings, and you're going to want to choose a profile folder. Remember how we created that folder in My Documents earlier? Well, here's what we're going to want to do. We're going to want to go into, for Windows, you're going to want to go into Users, your name, and then you're going to want to go into Documents, and then MIDI2LR Profiles. Click Open, and you're ready to start mapping. So here's the thing you need to do first. Click Save, and give your first profile a name. A profile is where all of the data of all of the MIDI commands translated into Lightroom commands are saved into a file. So let's name this file Basic MIDI2LR Map Tutorial. Click Save, and you're ready to start programming out your controller. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start rotating your dials. And as you can see, once you start rotating your dials, all of the channels are showing up on MIDI2LR right here. So go through, if you're on a Behringer X-Touch Mini, go through each layer and make sure to push each button and knob. So now we're going to want to go into layer B and do the exact same thing. Once you've done that, you are ready to start mapping your controller. Now the cool part about MIDI2LR is it automatically highlights what you are trying to adjust. So say I wanted to adjust this dial. As you can see on the screen here, it's actually come up and highlighted itself. So let's just say I wanted this to be exposure. So once I click Unmapped, I can go into Develop, I can go into basic, exposure. So now, watch this. It's gonna automatically change my settings to develop, and once I start dialing this, it's gonna start changing my exposure on this image. But look, it's not controlling anything else. So that's pretty neat. Now, all you need to do is go through for each knob, dial, or button that you have on your controller and set a value for it. So say you want this button, so pushing down when you're on exposure, to reset exposure. All you have to do is go to the same thing, basic, and then reset exposure. So watch, there we go, it resets itself. Boom, resets itself. Awesome. So one thing I want you to be very safe with when you're doing this is the fact that if you close this without saving, you're going to lose all of your mappings. When I was first doing my programming for my Mastan Lab / pFixer Mini setup, I actually closed this so many times and I kept losing my data each time. So it's important that whenever you make a change or whenever you're confident that you've gotten through enough, just make sure you hit the save button and save your profile. Just like that. And once you're in there, you'll see MIDI2LR mapping tutorial, and you can just keep writing over it. Overwrite, overwrite. Great. So from here, all you need to do is go through each button and map it out to what you want. So I've already got my labels here, so I know exactly what I want. So this is going to be contrast. All you have to do is go into basic, contrast, and then obviously a click there I'm going to want as a reset. So basic, reset contrast. This is going to be my blacks, basic, blacks. This is going to be my shadows, basic, shadows. And then I forgot to do the reset on the click. So basic, and then reset blacks, and then reset shadows on this one. So that's pretty much all you need to know about mapping out your controller. Just keep remembering to save in here, and you'll be ready to go. Now, what about when you're trying to map out actual presets that you have? As you can see over here, I've got a whole bunch of presets from Develop to Do You Travel to all of the Mastan Labs presets. What you're going to want to do is go into File, plug in Extras, Options, and this is where you control everything about MIDI2LR. So as you can see, Develop presets are actually labeled into tabs here. You can have up to 40 developed presets programmed into MIDI2LR at a time. I'm hoping this will change in future updates, but for now we're stuck at 40. So each tab, you can actually input which preset you want. So let's start programming out some Mastan presets. So for channel 1 right here, I'm going to do it as Fuji Pro 400H, and then number 2 is going to be Fuji Pro 400H Blue. And it's important that you remember these numbers, so 1 and 2. Let's just say that's all I wanted to map, and I'm going to click OK. You can go back down here into MIDI2LR to open up, this is what's called the MIDI2LR server. And all you need to do is push a button, and then remember how I said you needed to remember that number? That number is really important because you go down into Develop Presets, and it represents a number in this menu right here. So preset number 1 is going to be our Mastan Fuji 400H, and preset number 2 is going to be the Mastan Fuji 400H Blue. So let's do that. Let's go and let's set that right there. Perfect. Don't forget to save, otherwise you'll lose all of your inputs. So let's click that now and check it out. It pops right up. And then now it's gone blue. Very, very cool, and it helps a lot with being able to program all of your presets so they're right at your fingertips instead of having to hunt over here. So let's go check out some more options inside the plugin extras. So there's other options including paste selections. So if you decide that you want to copy and paste settings in between your photos, all you need to do is go in here. So let's say that we wanted to make this copy and this paste. So here we go, let's do it. Let's go, this is gonna be copy, so we click in, we go to develop, copy settings, and then we go push this button, and we're gonna go develop, paste settings. So now, don't forget to save before you go out of it, overwrite, click the minimize button, and check it out. Let's go to this image, let's copy our settings. Nothing's gonna pop up onto the screen. All we need to do is go over here and then click this, which is gonna be our paste. So it automatically copies the crop, it copies the color, it copies everything. So as you can see, if I push the little backslash on here, before and after, that's all done by MIDI2LR. Now, this is a good way to transition into keyboard shortcuts. As you can see, the / key is a before and after. What if I wanted to program that onto my board, but it's actually not inside of MIDI2LR here? Like if you go into one of these, say I wanted this to be before and after, it's not in any of these menus. So what you do now is you go back into File, Plugin Extras, Options, and then you go into Other. This is where you have keyboard shortcuts. So all you need to do is say, okay, keyboard shortcut number 1 is going to be /. And we all know what / does now. It does before and after. So you click OK, you go back in here, and you say, I want this button to be before and after. Click it, go in, and all you need to do is go into keyboard shortcuts for user, and then it's going to be key 1. Save, overwrite. Now check this out. Before and after, all on a button here. Another way to figure out which keyboard shortcuts you'll want to use is just by doing a simple Google search. Just go to Google and type in Lightroom keyboard shortcuts. So what this is going to do is it's going to show you a cheat sheet. Just go to any of these and check it out. Let's say we wanted to have an add to quick collection shortcut. So on Mac or PC, it's going to be Shift B. All we need to do is go back into Lightroom, File, Plugin Extras, Options, Other, and then Shift B. If you're on Mac, what you might see is instead of Control, you're gonna see the Apple key. So it's actually going to say Command there. So if you have a Mac, it's going to say Command there, so it's going to be Command, Alt, or Shift. So Shift B is going to be Add to Quick Collection. That's keyboard shortcut 2. Click OK. Let's map it to this key. Keyboard shortcut 2. Save, overwrite, minimize. Just make sure that you go through all the keyboard shortcuts that are available and make sure that there's nothing that you wouldn't use on a regular basis. Some buttons that might be of use for you are Edit in Photoshop, which is going to be Command or Control E, Export with previous settings, which is going to be Command Option Shift E, or Control Alt Shift E. There's a whole bunch that you can program in and program onto your controller very easily. Let's check out some other settings inside of MIDI2LR options. So File, Plugin Extras, Options, and let's go into Other, and let's check these out. So one thing that I really enjoy about MIDI2LR is Show Status and Activity and Reveal Adjusted Controls. This makes it so that when I'm editing, it'll actually pop up on the screen and tell me what I'm doing. So let's click OK here. it's actually gonna pop up and tell me my exposure adjustment, what it is, and how it's adjusting my image. So let's paste properties on there. If I hit the exposure, it's gonna show it. If I change the contrast, it's gonna show it. Anything that you adjust, it'll come up and tell you what it's doing on the screen. Some other useful things to map onto your controller are gonna be within the library panel. So let's open up our server again, and let's map these two buttons to pick and unpick. So this one is gonna be under library, set a pick flag, and this one's gonna be under library, unflag it. So this is really cool when you're going through and you're culling your images in Lightroom. I don't really recommend culling your images in Lightroom. However, if it's easier for you because then you can edit and cull at the same time, then so be it. Let's save these. Overwrite, yes. It's gonna pick and remove, pick and remove, pick and remove, pick and remove. So one cool thing that I needed to show you is that if you have caps lock on, an interesting thing happens. These are our pick and removes, right? What it's gonna do is it's actually going to go to the next image every time you push. That's one awesome feature about the caps lock feature inside of Lightroom. Let's go back into the MIDI2LR options for the final little bit of information. Go to the other panel, and here you're gonna find something really, really useful. So for me, I don't find myself needing to change my exposure more than 3 stops down or 3 stops over. Sometimes it's usually 2. So what we can do now is we can set our limits so that when you turn the dial, you can only go down to -3 exposure or +3 exposure. This lets it so you can be much more precise when you're scrolling because it only has 6 digits to cross over 127 values within the MIDI controller instead of 10. Same thing goes for temperature limits. So say you don't go below 3,000. Say you don't go below 3,000. You can set it to 3,097. These aren't very accurate sliders. And then say you don't go past 12,000. So you want to set it to 12,000 here. 11,874, that might be the best you're going to get. Just live with it. There's not much you can do about that. Same with straight angle limits and same with tint limits. I know I never go past 30, so I'm going to set my tint limits to 30. Okay, so let me show you this in action. So if I'm bumping up my exposure, you can tell it's only gonna let me go to 3. I can scroll as much as I want, but it's only ever gonna let me get +3 or -3. Same thing goes if I add temperature. So let's say I'm gonna change the same dial to temperature. So basic, and then I'm gonna go to temperature. And then I'm gonna do this one as tint. Save it, overwrite. So this is temperature now. It's only gonna let me go down to that 3,097 mark. And it's only gonna let me go up to the 11,874 mark. Same with this, tint only goes up to 30 or -30. So these are really useful for doing more precise editing without having these giant leaps and bounds inside of here. Now let me show you one last cool feature inside of the plugin options. If you go over to the library filters panel, you can actually select library filters. So one thing that I always like to do is I like to show my flagged images. So that's gonna be my #1 library filter. So I click OK, I go back into the MIDI2LR server, I push the button that I want it to be on, and then I'm gonna click into library filter 1, save my map, overwrite it. So now check this out. Once I hit this button, it'll actually only show me my flagged photos, which makes it really easy once you've finished culling and editing to just do a quick Control-A and then export your photos without having to go back into your library panel or going down here and selecting flagged. Really nice and simple, really cool feature to add into MIDI2LR and a cool feature to add into your MIDI2LR setup. So one last thing I want to show you is if this gets closed. If MIDI2LR gets closed right here, say this gets closed, it's gone. This won't control anything on your screen anymore. So what you're gonna wanna do is don't restart Lightroom. You don't need to do that. Just go into Plugin Extras, Start Server. Awesome, you're all set and ready to go, just like that. So I bet you guys are wondering, how did you share all of your presets for your last video? So what I did is I saved all of my profiles and I gave them to you guys. Now, how did I save all of my options? Like my MIDI2LR options in here. Easy, all you need to do is go to File, Plugin Extras, Export Presets. You can name it. And it saves it as a text file. All you need to do is say all of these got erased. So say this went away, library filter went away, all of this came back for some reason. Okay, and then let's get rid of all these. And then say these all got all out of whack, just like that. Click OK. Obviously, if you go into your options, everything's going to be gone, right? Not so if you've created an export file. All you need to do is load presets. Just load in your MIDI TUT export, and guess what? Everything's all back and ready to go. See, everything's loaded back in and you're ready to go. So that's it. I really hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial on MIDI2LR and how to program out your own MIDI controller. If you have any questions, please just feel free to send a comment in the comment box below, send me an email, hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or email. I'm always responsive to everything, and I appreciate you watching my channel and my videos. Hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one, which is going to be an advanced mapping tutorial including profiles. See you then.